because I remember in college, my boyfriend used to always get me flowers. And I remember distinctly one day walking out of my dorm room, I was arranging the flowers and I was like, oh, I do not want to go to class. I wish I could just stay here and just arrange and play with flowers all day long. Like, I don't want to leave. But I didn't understand that I could have a career in floral work. So I never pursued it.
Welcome back to another episode of the Purpose Collective podcast. I am back with a wonderful guest. She does something that I've never actually known anyone personally to do. So I'm really excited to have her share her journey with us on the show and to just get more information about how she got started in her industry, what led her to do it, and her walk with Jesus. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to our guest. Valerie's background started in lodging and events. She's an event planner by trade and studied hospitality at the Dedman School of Hospitality at Florida State University. After graduation, she relocated to Atlanta and began a vibrant career in hospitality, working at the St. Regis Atlanta. In the years following, she worked for a few event planning firms and ultimately assumed the event director position at the Hotel Claremont while simultaneously working as the lead designer and event planner at her own company, One Soul Events. During the pandemic, she began seeking out community in the floral industry and sought out florists who looked like her, which led to her starting Black Girl Florists. Black Girl Florists is an organization whose goal is to support and celebrate Black women in floristry. So without further ado, welcome to the Purpose Collective podcast, Valerie.
Hey, girl, glad to be here.
Yes, I'm glad to have you. I have so many questions. Okay, but first, before we get into like the juicy details, what I'm curious about is what did you want to be when you grew up? Because you're in a pretty niche industry, and I'm like, did she think about flowers at 5?
It was so opposite. I wanted to be a lawyer and then an accountant. So I told my dad I wanted to be a lawyer, and he was like, "Okay, but you're gonna have to defend people who like are not exactly innocent." I'm like, "No, I'm gonna be a lawyer for only innocent people." He's like, "Then you're not gonna have any business." So I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna change my job." So then I changed to accounting.
See, what your dad neglected to tell you is that there's more avenues of law outside of criminal that don't pertain to guilt or innocence. Oh my goodness.
I'd
But
known that. I probably would have pursued being a lawyer.
yeah, but you're right where you're right where you're supposed to be, it seems.
I am.
So before we start talking about floristry, I want to talk about your journey and your walk with Jesus. So when did you come to know Jesus for yourself?
I met the Lord when I was in the fifth grade. Actually, I feel like my earliest interaction with Jesus was when I was very young. I was a little girl, maybe like 3 or 4. My mother used to read to us about the word out of a little yellow book, and it was all in Spanish. And she would tell us about Jesus and about the garden, about how all the animals were like hanging out with Adam. And I was like, this is amazing. And then ultimately started going to church with my parents, and then in the fifth grade, we moved to Florida, started going to a new church, and I got involved with the youth ministry. And that was really, really amazing. And I feel like my relationship with the Lord really sparked in the fifth grade. But I didn't have any tending. I didn't have any community to really help me grow my relationship with Christ. So that fell off so quick. And then in the 10th grade, I gave my life to Christ. I went to church with a girlfriend. My parents weren't really going to church anymore, but I still wanted the Lord. I was still seeking that relationship. So I went to church one evening in 10th grade and gave my life to Christ, and then still didn't have any community. So it fell off again. And then I went through high school, through college, and then I didn't start to pursue a true relationship with Christ until 2012 when I graduated college.
Oh wow, you were introduced to Jesus really early. Um, I
Yeah.
I ended up giving my life to Christ when I was like around 5 or 6. I was in kindergarten. And
Oh,
so
wow.
I was just like, I remember, I I remember it very vividly. Like I remember hearing about Jesus and them asking, like them telling you, close your eyes. And
Yeah.
so I made the decision, like on my own without having like any influence or anything. And funny thing is, I never went back to church. I never went back to that church. It was like a neighbor. They invited me to go to a church, but the part the neighbor was my friend, and her
Okay.
mom was like, "Hey, the bus is gonna come get you guys," and it was like this um pretty large church, and so they bused us all the way across town to their church, and I went there and yeah, I gave my life to Christ, and so they had us go to another room and make sure that we were really serious about it or whatever, and I was like, yes, never went back.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. I love that you were so young, but it's hilarious that you never went back.
Never went back. And it's really just because her mom never called the bus for us again. I needed it.
Yeah.
I was in a home where witchcraft was being practiced, where drugs were being sold. Like I needed the Holy Spirit. I needed Jesus
It
to
sounded very
protect me. Huh?
hmm It sounded very purposeful, like for that one day that you would have the transportation to get across town so the Lord can save your soul. Sounds pretty intentional to me.
Right. Right. Very much so. I'm like, it's very obviously intentional because never went back. But anyway, enough about me. So let's jump into what led you to doing events.
Oh man, this is a story that I actually don't tell very often. But when I started school at FSU, my major coming in through care was in communications PR. And they pretty much line your GPA up from like a 4.0 all the way down and count down the top 15 people and take those students. So I knew that I had to stand out. And my entry level courses were in like mass communications and classes like that. Well, I was in a class. It was mass. I think it was mass media, and it was the day before. And I went on my birthday. We had a party. It was like a kickback at a friend's house. And the next day, I had a mass media exam, and it was a 3 test class. So if you miss one class, you got to change your whole major. And I thought I was going to make it, and I indeed did not make it to that class. So I try to talk to them, and they're like, no, like you have to retake this course, which is going to push you out to graduate in 5 years, or you can change your major. And I was like, man, like I got to, I don't want to change my major. So I went to the business school and I was like, hey, like I got to change my major. I think I want to do business. I had no idea. I walked into that counselor's office just confused, but I left completely clear minded. So we were talking and they recommended that I do hospitality. And I was like, what is that? I thought it was like something medical. And obviously it's not. And I was like, well, my dad is in hospitality. And so is my family. Okay, fine. I'll check this out. Once I changed majors, like everything made sense. Like working in lodging, working with people. I was like, I love this. This is what I want to do. So I transferred. I loved all my classes. I got like a 4.0 GPA in all of my like major classes. Did some amazing internships with the Four Seasons. Got my job at the St. Regis. Like it was unbelievable. Like changing my major is probably the best thing that happened to me when I was in school.
Whoa. Okay, wait, we gotta go back. We gotta go back. So, who knew that mass communications and what was it, PR?
Yeah.
Who knew that was so rigorous like that? I mean, I guess they're trying to weed people out.
Yes. Very, very tough major to get into.
Wow. Well, worked out.
It sure did.
So, what was your experience like after college? Now doing events on a huge scale. I mean, the St. Regis
I know, yeah.
boss.
I think that it's a lot different because for me, like I work with clients and they all have different needs. So when I used to work and have my big girl jobs and work for people, a lot of the clients were either like recurring clients or people that pretty much knew exactly what they wanted. A lot of the work that I do now is more custom or bespoke, where it's like, hey, what is your vision? Let's execute this. So there's a little bit of difference there.
Okay, got it. So, at what
Mhm.
point did flowers and floristry become a focus for you?
2017. And honestly, I wasn't really thinking about getting into floral work. But one of my clients was like, hey, like I need help with flowers. Do you do flowers? I was like, I could try. So then I got onto YouTube, I bought a bunch of flowers and I started kind of teaching myself. And then I started getting into some floral classes here locally. And I was like, I think this is what I want to do because more people were asking me to help them with their flowers. I was getting published in a couple different magazines because I was doing style shoots and really connecting with the community groups. And that's pretty much how it happened.
Wait a minute. Okay, so let's back up. So, why? First of all, why were so many people asking if you did flowers? Like, was there just
I
a gap in the market?
I don't know. I don't know. I think it's because like since I was already helping them with planning their events, they're like, "Oh, well, can you do these flower pieces as well?" And I was like, "Yeah, I can do that." So a lot of it was self-taught, and then some of it was like just learning from different local florists.
So, what was that learning curve like?
Oh my gosh, it wasn't that bad. I would say the first year, it wasn't that bad. I was definitely self-taught the first year, just doing and pushing out as many bouquets as I could because I was practicing and they were getting better and better and better. And then I would do weddings and have those weddings published. So more brides are like, "Hey, can you do that for me?" So it was very progressive.
How did you know, like, first, before you started learning and doing arrangements, were you into flowers at all?
I loved flowers. I did. And it's so interesting that you asked me that because I remember in college, my boyfriend used to always get me flowers. And I remember distinctly one day walking out of my dorm room, I was arranging the flowers and I was like, oh, I do not want to go to class. I wish I could just stay here and just arrange and play with flowers all day long. Like, I don't want to leave. But I didn't understand that I could have a career in floral work. So I never pursued it. I was in school now, had changed my major to hospitality, plan to work with a really high end hotel brand and just go from there. But even that moment, like I'm reminded of how like the Lord really wants us to do things that we absolutely love because he puts those skills and those thoughts and those ideas inside of us. So like I wish that earlier on I would have pursued doing floral work just a lot sooner.
Yeah, we have to really, look and evaluate the things in our lives that we love and then the
Yeah.
things that we hate because those are
Yes.
key indicators sometimes as to, what we're called to do. Like I know I used to hate seeing people say that they're bored. Like hearing people say that they're bored or seeing people wandering or like wandering around in life aimlessly. It's like, what are you even doing? What is going on here? I would hate it. And so, come to find out, girl, you're called to, guide people to
Mhm.
discovering their purpose. Who knew? I
I
just thought that I was just
know.
highly critical. So, but anywho, the reason why I asked you that question is because I was curious about how did you know if an arrangement was good or not? You know what I'm saying? Because you kind of have to take your own personal taste out of it, and you don't
Yeah.
even have experience doing the arrangement. So, how were
Yeah.
you able to gauge? What was like your barometer?
Me, did I like it? Did
Mm.
I like what I was producing? When you think about floor work, it's very subjective. It's kind of like the quote, like "beauty is in the eye of the beholder." So true. Like there will always be trends and things that are like doing really well in the economy and doing really well amongst people. But for the most part, when you think about something like floor work, it's very creative. It's very artistic. So a lot of the designs and the bouquets that we all put out, they're all going to be different because they are made by a different person. So for me, I would design things that I absolutely loved and then they would love it too.
Yo, I've seen some of your arrangements, and I was just like, she created that? Like, I've never seen anything like it. They're really good. So, it seems like you kind of started off being good and then you got better and better.
Yeah, practicing and just continuously working on my craft. Like even this year, like I've decided that I want to be surrounded by so many flowers. So even if I don't have clients, I still want to continue to get flowers and just design things that I haven't designed before.
What's been one of the most challenging things that you've encountered in floristry?
Challenging. I think for me, finding out which area I really love and which area I want to thrive in. Because a lot of what I share is that working with flowers is like a superpower. It's like, okay, I'm talented in flowers, but like, how do I want to use that superpower? Do I want to do events? Do I want to do retail work? Do I want to do it just for like museums, or do I want to do it for hotel lobbies? Like, trying to understand what area I want to work in has probably been the most challenging, because I love flowers, but a lot of times that's just the first step. But there's always something that comes behind it depending on which area you work in. So if I decide to go the retail route, it's okay, I love flowers, I work with flowers, but do I want to have a physical shop where I'm taking random orders every single day, having flowers on hand, and people are just calling? Or do I want to be an event florist where there's a set time and date? The flowers are going to be in bulk order, but I'll know exactly when those are going to be executed. And so like every different area has this like own process.
Oh wow. I never even thought I never even thought about that. There are businesses that have flowers. They have to be, you know, taken care of and provided and all of these things. If
Yeah.
someone was listening to this and they're like, "Oh my goodness, I feel like I heard God, like calling me to do floristry. It's been, weighing on me heavily." What's some advice you would give them?
I would say number one, go buy some flowers and get some floral tools and make something on your own. It's probably going to be terrible, but the best feeling is when you can get into it first. Understanding how the petals feel, how the stems feel, how to work with the tools. And then the second step would be to take a local class. There are a lot of florists that are constantly sharing their talent. Take a local class. And then the third step, I would say, is to join an organization, to be surrounded by people who are doing what you want to do. And even if you don't know what area you want to get into when it comes to flowers, when you literally get close to other people and you start to see how they're working, you'll start to understand, hey, I really like that, or I don't really like that. And it'll help you niche your business down.
What have been some actually what's been a moment that's, kind of like for you. But like I guess a point of frustration. Like what's been a moment where you really had to trust God in your business?
Opening my space. Opening my space. So I opened a floral co-work space in Atlanta, Georgia, and it's a space for florists to come and work. A lot of the work that I have done has been either in my living room or in hotel conference rooms, and it's not truly designed for floral work. So what I really love about the space is we have buckets, tools, design tables, ample space to spread out, a complete water source, load in and loading out, space through a garage door. And what I love the most is my cooler. Connie the cooler. She is a game changer. She's 10 by 10, and I'm able to get started on my designs days ahead of schedule because I'm able to keep my flowers cooled. So it's a game changer, and we've had many florists book and reserve and use the space. It is truly the most amazing thing. I had this idea 2 years ago, and really before that, but I remember starting an Instagram page because a lot of us start Instagram pages when we have an idea.
Oh yeah.
Like 5 or 6 years ago, like I'm gonna do something called Pink and Blooms. I don't know what it's gonna be.
Hmm.
And then a few years later, which was 2 years later, was when I was like, let me start calling someone because I'm looking for space. So I started looking for the space, and I was praying, and I was like, Lord, what are my next steps? And he was truly my partner in this, just us finding a place, solidifying it. Then we found a place, and I would go to the place every week or most weeks after corporate prayer and just pray over the space. Pray that we would not be stopped by any red tape, praying that this is the space that the Lord wants for us, that He would open the door. And if it's not, that He would close the door. Praying that He would have this loan approved if it's His will for me to open this space. Pray for Him to bring the people that are supposed to be in this space, dedicating the space to Him. And it was beautiful because every step of the way, He was revealing to me that this is it. But I was the one that was really nervous. I was like, Lord, you're going to have to show me because I don't see it. So I remember even a year out, I had met another florist and she was working out of this space. So I talked to her about her experience here. I remember going to see the space like all the time. I was like, I just wanted to be there. I remember walking around the space, praying over the space and being like, Lord, is this where you want us to be? And every time something came up, especially when we were going through the contract process, things would come up and I was like, all right, Lord, that door handle ain't working. So I'm just going to bow out. Like the closer I got to the promise, the more I was trying to back out of it. I was like, Lord, I don't know. And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, I don't know. And then I'd have the loan approved. And then I'm like, okay, great, but I don't know, Lord. And then I would have something else approved. And I'm just like, okay, I'm just taking these steps. And I remember the last thing was, I think it was 2 days before I was supposed to sign the agreement. I asked them, I said, hey, can you have them take a look at the air conditioning unit because it has to be great because we have flowers here. They can't have the product dying even though we have a cooler. So they looked at the air conditioning unit and they said it was 15 years old and that it had to be replaced, the whole thing. Had I not asked about the air conditioning unit, I would have been stuck with this air conditioning unit. And I was like, well, Lord, we did all our parts. I know I got approved for this loan. I'm just going to get the money back. And I'm going to go back to doing my thing in my apartment because air conditioning unit's not working. All right. So I tell them this and I don't hear from them for 7 days. And I'm like, Lord, I haven't heard nothing. I'm supposed to sign this agreement. This money is here. What do you want me to do? Like, and I called my small group leader. We prayed, and I was like, Lord, I don't think it's gonna happen. So they got back to me the next day, and they were like, hey, the unit, because I asked them, can you guys replace the unit? And I didn't hear back. When I did hear back, they said, hey, we actually replaced the unit. You're all set to go. I was like, Lord, I was waiting to hear back to see if they were going to replace it. You mean it's already done? So the 7 days that I was waiting for an answer if they were going to do it or not, you got it done. So Lord, I'm nervous and I'm afraid, but I have to move forward with opening this space because you literally told me, because you knew that I was not going to move forward if they didn't change that unit, and you're telling me that's already changed. So I take this as a green light. All right, what do you want me to do? And I told the Lord, I'm going to do my part, and I'm praying and asking for you to do your part. So my part is using all of my gifts, talents, intelligence, business education to do what I know to do, to market, share, tell people about the space, and he will do the rest by bringing people here and just pouring out in abundance what is supposed to happen in this space. And he has done that. And for me, I really liken it to Moses' relationship and his walk with the Lord when he led the people out of Israel and when they were wandering and really asking the Lord, hey, should I have left that place? Because it's comfortable when you're in a place that that's familiar, even if it's terrible and not great. But it takes a lot of faith and trust in Jesus to take a step forward when you don't know what's going to happen. I had no idea what he would do. And even being in this space now, he has done so many new things out of my yes to move forward here. So this by far has been the biggest faith move that I have made since moving from Tallahassee to Atlanta in 2012.
Girl, let me tell you something. When you were just talking about how you were praying that they would basically agree to get the unit fixed, whole time they're already fixing it. I thought about Daniel, from the day that Daniel decided in his heart to
Yeah.
submit himself to God, God sent the answer.
Girl,
Now,
I'm not.
the angel got held up. The angel got held up for 21 days. Nevertheless, God sent the answer that day.
Yeah.
You got the answer likely the day that you prayed, and it wasn't even what you thought. The unit was fixed.
I still can't believe it. And for me, I know the Lord knows that that's how because the word says he's the author and finisher of our faith. So we have to exercise the faith, but he's the author of it too. I feel like that's how he cultivates my faith. Because for me, even if things are not going well, now that I'm here in my promised land, I will never forget that he did that for me. So I can go back and be like, well, Lord, look what you did before. So I'm straight now. I know I'm going to be okay because look what you did before. I didn't ask to be here. I prayed and you answered. And so now I'm here. So I know you want me to be here. So if I get a bill that I don't like, look, Lord, there's a bill for you in the mail. How do you want to take care of that? Lord, they're asking. This is his space. Every time somebody comes to look at the space, I say, come and see what the Lord has done. Come and see what my father has done, what my dad has done for me and for us. I'm just stewarding it. But I have to tell people and let them know because I did not do this on my own. For me to be approved for my first loan in this way with the business titled Black Girl Florist in an all white establishment without any prior confirmation that I could do, that I could make the payment or even be in this space. And I prayed that the Lord would break down all the red tape and that we would be able to get in here. And he put us here. So my father is going to keep me here. And I believe that.
Absolutely. Whew, honey. I was going to ask you what role does your faith play in your business, but you pretty much just covered it. You incorporate them in every step.
He is the business.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think people understand. Like for me, as I was telling you about my relationship with Christ, like I stopped living my life in 2012. Okay. I did. Like if you people don't know me the way you know me, but I'm a woman who goes after what she wants and I do what I need to do and have always been that way. From fifth grade moving to sixth grade, from eighth grade moving to high school and high school to college, I always made sure I have my things in line and that if it was meant to be, it was up to me. And then when I graduated in 2012 and I was chilling by the pool those last 2 weeks after graduation, I was like, all right, Lord, I'm just going to be in Tallahassee. He's like, no, you're moving to Atlanta. And he moved me to Atlanta. I was like, all right, Lord, what are we doing? And that's where he got my attention in a small group. And I rededicated my life to him. And I stopped living in that living room and was born again and gave my life to him. And I say that because in 2012, everything changed for me. The way that I did business, the way that I did work, asking the Lord to order my steps, to guide me, to bring me into alignment and guide me into his plan. Like when I moved to Atlanta in 2012, I tried to live the Atlanta life for 6 months and it failed. There were not enough hours, outfits, money, brunches, activities. I could not do it. And I was like, all right, Lord, I'm tired. And then he got my attention. He's like, all right, bet. And everything changed. I started looking and praying about the next job that I would have. I started seeking and asking him about my purpose, not just what jobs could I interview, but Lord, what do you have for me? What do you want me to do? And he took me to a vigorous training of pruning, both in friendships and relationships in my career. He changed my life. And if it were not for him, I wouldn't be here. Nobody chooses or asks to do the hard thing. Everyone wants to do the comfortable thing that fits into their plans or their perceived skill set. But I'm literally doing things that a lot of times I'm like, Lord, how am I skilled enough to do this? And it's because of his leading. So yeah, the past few years have been just all about him.
I feel you. Listen, girl, you read my book when you're talking about, like, when we come to the end of ourselves, then God can really work.
Girl.
Because so much of our life, if depending on when we accepted Christ as our Lord and Savior, but so much of that journey sometimes starts off with us just kind of incorporating God into our plans. You
Yeah.
know, it's like, God, I want this, so bless me with it. Give it to me. You know what I'm saying? God, this man, he's not, right? And we just ask him to bless what we have going on, not really considering what his plans are for our life, because his
Yeah.
plans are perfect.
Yeah.
His plans are perfect. And when we get to the point where we can just yield and say, you know what, God, I don't have anything to ask of you. I trust you. I
Yeah.
trust your word. I trust what your word says, how you operate and who you are. Your word says that your plans for me are to prosper me, to give me an expected end. They're good plans. I
Yeah.
believe it. I believe it. So whatever you got for me, I'm here to receive it. I don't have anything because you know what I'm saying. Like, what do I know?
Yeah.
What do I know? I only know what's in front of me, but you know the past, the present, and the future.
Who knows how you're going to react to things when you're 15, when you're 25, when you're 32, when you're 47? Like, that's the thing about the Lord is that although we have a relationship, I don't know him. Like, when you think about God in the scope of who he is, we know very little, very little information about who he is, yet he wants to be in relationship with us. Like, he wants to be my best friend. And I'm like, Lord, but you're like so amazing and like you know everything. He knows everything and he wants to be my friend. And I love what you were saying about like his plans being perfect and trusting him because it's the truth. Although what I do is very hard work, I am so fulfilled and I know that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. And he knows it's going to be hard. That's why he doesn't reveal everything. He takes you through things step by step to prepare you. I literally, after I graduated college, I did a couple jobs and then I was in and out of work for like 5 years. I remember like literally once a year, once every couple months, I'd be in my small group like, girl, I lost another job. Girl, I lost another job because I kept trying to be in places I was not supposed to be because I was trying to take care of myself. I'm like, Lord, I got to be able to get this money, get this coin. I got to climb up in this business. Girl, boop, 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 fall out of the job. Boop, 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 boop. He take me out. It was like the first year he left me there for 18 months and then 12 months and then 6 months and then 6 weeks. I'm like, Lord, when can I keep a job? Jesus, please. Because I was trying to take care of myself instead of asking him to show me, what do you want for me? What do you want me to do? And it was very hard, but I don't think that I would have been prepared to do what I'm doing today had it not been for that season. I feel like 2016 and 2015 Val would look at me right now and be like, girl, it's really rough. But I would give them, those versions of myself, just the advice to keep going, to do the best that you can in this day and to trust the Lord and to keep seeking God. And I feel like a lot of times it's very Christianese, but it's really that simple. Simple as waking up and be like, Jesus, what do you want me to do today? Holy Spirit, what should I do today? And then following that leading. That's what I do now because I'm like, Lord, at this point, we out here like we're doing it.
What you gotta say, God? How are we spending the day?
Yeah.
And that's what keeps us protected
Yeah.
and constantly tuned in and tapped in so that I'll see sometimes people will have pushback on believers who are doing what they heard God say do.
Mhm.
And or they'll have pushback on how God says we should operate in a certain area. Like I remember I was having a discussion with someone and I was telling them, I'm like, if God tells me this, I don't need to hear anything else. Like if God tells me this, I don't need to hear anything else. And they're like, well, that's too soon to make a decision like that. And I'm like, according to who?
Yeah.
Because I don't need to hear anymore. God has told me, but what I recognize is they don't know what it's like to hear God and or they don't trust what he says. It's
Yeah,
one
that
of
last.
those. It's either you don't think that I've heard God about this or you don't believe what he says. Because why would I need to see anything more? You
Yeah.
know? But the truth is God wants relationship with us. He's jealous over us.
Yeah.
So this is, ooh, girl, this is blessed me. So now what I'm curious about, because you have a pretty demanding career, is
Yeah.
how do you like make sure that your business and other responsibilities don't overshadow the time that you spend with God? Because essentially you're running two different businesses at the same time.
Girl, yes. It is a
Okay?
couple things at the
You're
same time.
managing a space and you're operating as a florist. Do you still do events?
I do.
Okay,
I
so
do
three
still
different
do it.
businesses.
Yeah, it is three. Yeah. Black Girl Florist, the organization. Pink and Bloom's the space, and then my personal business, One Soul Events. It's a lot of work, a lot of juggling. It's just me and the Lord doing the day together. Um, I wish that I had the time to share and express to people about my relationship with Jesus and how I've been able to develop that, because it's literally the best investment that I have made in my life.
Girl, share. This is what they want to hear.
For me, once I understood that Jesus knew me, not knew me as like one of his kids, but like he knows Valerie, then I was like, oh, okay, so he really wants to be best friends with me. So I was like, all right, then we're gonna do this, Dad. And I started treating our relationship like a natural relationship. I thought about my best friend and I was like, well, how do I spend time with my best friend? I go out to eat with her. I literally make plans for her. I set time aside to be with her. I let her know if I can't make something. I let her know if I can. Like we have a relationship. How does she know that I love her? I tell her. How to know that she loves me? She tells me. So in the same capacity, I make space for the Lord. I already know, like at the beginning of the year, it's gonna be time for me and Jesus. Like we talk about it during the year, like January, this we're gonna do. Like that's our time. Um, and then daily, I have an hour set aside for Him. And most of the time, that hour happens in the afternoon, and I have flexibility with my schedule. So we spend an hour together just doing things that He wants to do. So sometimes I'll start off with worship, or and then I'll lead into prayer, and then I'll have my journal out and I'll just talk to him like, Lord, what do you want to talk about today? Set a few minutes to just hear from him and sit in quiet. Sometimes I just take a nap in his presence. Sometimes I'm reading a book, listening to a podcast, but all that's happening in the hours, all about him. I set the mood and the tone just for him. Close my laptop, get somewhere comfortable. I make it a point to let him know that Holy Spirit is welcome in that space. And it's just all for him. Sometimes it doesn't happen in the afternoon. Sometimes it's first thing in the morning. Sometimes at the end of the night. But I make space for the Lord as though he were here with me physically, just like I know he's here with me spiritually.
I love that. I love that. Making space.
So it differs.
It's really that simple. It's really that simple. A lot of people, um, they get in their head about it and they kind of start to condemn themselves about it. But I'm like, no, just pull out that Bible.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just that
because he really
simple.
is a friend. Yeah, because he really is a friend. And
Hmm.
what I love about the word is that anything that you have going on or anything that you have questions about, anything that you're thinking about is in the Bible.
It's in there.
We just have to do our part to go and look into it. Like for me, being able to study Moses' story, being able to study Elijah's story, I recognize that those people are me. That the same sentiments, the same experiences that they're having or that they had before I even was thought of, I'm having today in 2024. So I recognize the Lord speaking to me through his word when he's telling Joshua not to be discouraged, to go and possess the land, that it is surely his. That's how I felt. Like for me not to be discouraged, to go and surely possess Pink and Blooms because I will surely possess it. I will see the glory of the Lord and the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. That wasn't just a promise for Joshua. That's a promise for me. That I'm going to see the goodness of the Lord right now in the promised land. And for me, when I read the word, the Lord is speaking to me through these people's experiences.
Absolutely. Ooh, girl, this has been so good. This has really blessed me, honey. This has really blessed me. But before I let you go, I have to ask you my lightning round of questions. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. What is the best book that you've read in the last year?
Oh, Good or God by John Bevere.
I'm reading one of his books now. John Bevere he's good. He's good.
Oh yeah, very thorough.
What is your favorite form of self care?
Oh, washing my hair. My favorite. I love it. I do. I just take my time. So I would say washing my hair.
Oh my goodness, that seems like such a chore to me.
Oh no, I love it. I turn my phone off, music on, washing my hair, twisting it like nobody's bothering me. It's just me in my house for hours.
Good. Yeah, it's like, can I outsource this? All right. What is your ideal vacation location?
Oh man, okay. So I'm a staycation kind of girl. Like I love to like leave town for a day, but be back at home in my bed. So like Wherever I am, like if I'm in Orlando or somewhere in Florida, I like to go to the beach and then come back home. Or if I'm in Georgia, I like to go like to the mountains and then come back home. Maybe a weekend trip, but I'm like a staycation kind of girl.
Okay, okay. And then, what is the best show that you've binged recently?
Best show. Okay, so there's a show that I really love. It's called Encounter, and it's on PureFlix. And basically, it's this character who portrays Jesus in like everyday interactions. And it is so great because you literally see how the Lord deals with us in our time in this show. And it's just so eye opening. I also love Law and Order SVU. I'm an SVU girl. I've been watching like 4 years. So those are like the top two shows that I really love right now.
Okay, so you watch Law and Order to get your, to feed your the girl inside that wanted to be a lawyer. You probably could argue those cases better than the lawyers
Telling
on that show.
I don't know, maybe in a couple years, because I've been thinking about it. I feel like for me, like I kind of still would love to pursue that. So we'll see, maybe.
Okay, well, keep me posted.
Yeah.
Now, how can people keep up with you on the internet?
Awesome. So I am on all the socials, either under Black Girl Florists with an S or Pink in Blooms with an S or One Soul Events. So it's those names everywhere.
All right. Well, thank you for stopping by the show. This was so
Thanks
much
for
fun.
having me. It was so fun. I was glad to be here.
Yes. All right. Until next time.
Yeah, see ya.